We're live.
Oh yes, we're live. Hello guys. Tumaan kasi yung pamangkin ko, si baby boy.
Lodi.
So, we are in day 5 of discussing Usapang God's Will by John MacArthur. So, ito ay How to Find Direction and Purpose para sa buhay mo. Tapos yung title ng chapter 5 is Patahimikin ang mga kritiko. So, I'm not sure yet kung sino yung mga critics dito na kailangan natin patahimikin. But I'm excited to read
Anong
it. So,
klaseng patahimikin niyo?
silence. Pupugutan ba ng ulo or something, yun yung ano ko eh, or putulan ng dila, hindi ko alam. So, I'm excited to read it. So, let's all discover ng sabay-sabay kung ano man yung ibig niya sabihin dito. So, let's start. So, isipin mo ang isang binata. Binata? Sino binata dyan? Na gustong-gustong malaman kung ano ang God's will para sa buhay niya. Napaka-dedicated niya sa Diyos na willing pa nga siyang maging isang missionary, na sa tingin ng ibang tao ay para bang ultimate sacrifice. Pero sa kabila ng kanyang dedication, may ilang problema ang binatang ito. Medyo matigas ang ulo niya. Nahihirapan siyang makisama sa mga nasa authority. Siyempre, para sa kanya, may dahilan naman para magrebelde siya. Finally, inalapit ng taong yang seeker after God's will ang problema niya sa isang wise old pastor. Naniniwala ako na gusto ng Diyos na maging missionary ako, sabi niya. Pero hindi ako sure kung gusto niya akong maging home missionary o isang foreign missionary. Tiningnan siya sa mata ng pastor. Anak, sabi niya, ang kailangan mo muna ay maging isang sub-missionary. Kailangan mong matutunan kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng submission. Hard words? Siguro, pero totoo. Isinulat ni Apostle Peter, submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether to a king as the one in authority or to governors as sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. For such is the will of God. Ano ba ang gusto ng Diyos na gawin mo? Mag-submit. Anong klaseng submission ang sinasabi niya? May ipinapakita ang scripture na ilang klase, including sa parents and other believers. Pero dito, ang itinuturo ni Peter ay isang klase ng submission kung saan magiging pinakamabuting citizen ka sa lugar kung saan ka nakatira. Sino ba ang inaabot natin, ang sanlibutan? Kung hindi tayo magiging halimbawa ng isang good citizen sa mundong ito, masisira ang testimonies natin. Hindi lang inuutos ng Diyos ang submission sa authority, kundi itinuro niya din ang dahilan. Nais ng Diyos na sa pamamagitan ng inyong wastong pamumuhay ay mapatigil ninyo ang mga hangal sa kanilang kamangmangan. So, it's our lifestyle that would stop their foolishness, ganon. Alam mo ba kung ano ang hinahanap ng critics ni Christ sa mga Christian? Mga kapintasan. Mga critics ni Christ sa mga Christian, mga kapintasan. O totoo ba Christian yan? Eh, ganito nga siya eh. Ganon. Paano natin sila mapipigilan sa paghahanap ng maipipintas? Tanggalin natin ang mga kapintasan. Kailangan patahimikin natin ang mga kamangmangan ng mga hangal. Paano patatahingin ang mga critics mo? Sa pamamagitan ng pagiging good example sa society. Yan ang point ni Peter. Ang Christian ay hindi isang revolutionary. Kung may legal na paraan para magkaroon ng pababago, yan ang gagawin ng isang Christian. Nagtatrabaho ang isang Christian, pinagbubuti niya ang kanyang sarili para makapag-contribute siya sa society within the bounds of the law. Huwag mong abusuhin ang iyong freedom. Huwag mong gawing dahilan ang iyong kalayaan sa paggawa ng masama. Hindi maiwasan na may magsasabi, hindi ako naniniwala sa ganitong restriction. Sinabi sa akin ng Diyos, sa akin, sa puso ko na mali ito. Kaya ibibreak ko ang law na ito o lalabanan ko ang rule na ito. Teka muna. Sinabi ng Bible na huwag mong pagtakpan ang mga masasamang ginagawa mo dahil sa sinasabi mong Christian liberty. Sabi ng Diyos, honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Kung kayo naman ay mga empleyado, be subject to your masters with all fears. Sasabihin mo siguro, hindi mo kilala ang boss ko. Nagpatuloy ang scriptures, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. Ang ibig sabihin ng salitang froward ay mahirap pakasamahan. Hirap na ang pakasamahan ng taong to. Ganyan, diba?
Anong term? Pro, ano?
Froward. Akala ko forward to eh. Froward.
Such a froward. Ganon.
Ang hirap mong pakasamahan. You're such a froward. Ayan. A person difficult to deal with. Contrary. You're such a froward. But because I'm a Christian, I'm gonna deal with you with kindness. Ganun. Diba may ganung asar na asar ka na, diba? But since I'm a Christian, Jesus is in me, tahimik ka na lang. Ganun talaga, no? Ayun. Kung kayo naman, empleyado, be subject to your masters with all fear. Ayan. Sasabihin mo siguro, hindi mo kilala ang boss ko. Nagpatuloy ang scriptures not only to the good and gentle but also to the froward. Ano? Ang ibig sabihin ng salitang froward ay mahirap pakasamahan. May boss ka ba na mahirap pakasamahan? Ha? Franz?
No comment.
No comment. Anong dapat mong gawin? Mag-submit ka. Lovingly and willfully. Ayun. So, merong dito. Subtitle. Ay, subtopic. Shake the world. Maraming beses ko nang naisip na kung ang Christians matututo lang na mamuhay ayon sa buhay na sinasabi ni Peter, we would turn the world upside down. Pero minsan, hindi tayo madistinguish ng mundo mula sa kanilang uri. Tayo mga Kristiyano na nagtatrabaho sa mga non-Christian employees ay sinabihan ni Apostle Paul na pagbutihin ang pagtatrabaho para sa isang non-Christian ayon sa ipinapasweldo sa atin at ipakita natin ito na ito'y normal para sa isang Christian. Kung ikaw ay isang citizen ng state, sundin mo ang mga batas ng inyong state para malaman ng mga tao na totoo ang faith mo. Nasakop nito at na-influence ang lahat ng area ng buhay mo. Nadidisturb ako kapag may driver na may Christian slogan sa bumper ng kotse niya pero parang baliw kung makasingit at gitgit sa traffic. Ang principle ng good citizenship ay lalo pang pinagtibay ni Paul na ang nagsabing kapag pumili ng elder ang isang church, dapat blameless siya. Wala kang maisisisi sa kanya. No? Itinatanong mo siguro, dapat ba sundin ko ang lahat ng law sa lugar namin? Oo, every law. Kung hindi ka agree sa mga batas na ito, walang mababago at batas pa rin ang mga iyon. Sundin mo. Ngayon, kung may alam kang political way para mabago ang mga di maayos na batas, mabuti yan. Pero habang hindi pa nababago ang mga ito, sundin mo na lang. It's like submission to the authorities nga, diba? Pero paano kung sabihin nila sa iyo na gumawa ka isang bagay that violates God's clear revelation and command? Then huwag mong sundin. Yan lang ang tanging exception. Ganito ang nangyari nang hulihin ng Jewish rulers sina Peter at John. Inutusan nila sila na huwag mag-preach sa pangalan ni Jesus. Pero sumagot sila, kayo na ang mga humatol. Kayo na ang humatol kung alin ang tama sa paningin ng Diyos. Ang sumunod sa inyo o ang sumunod sa Diyos. At umalis sila sa lugar na yon at nagsimulang mag-preach. Acts 4:18-20. The only time na pwedeng hindi sundin ng Christians ang law of the land ay kapag pinagbabawalan sila ng batas na gawin ng mga inuutos ng Diyos sa kanila o kapag ipinapagawa sa kanila ang ipinagbabawal ng Diyos. Anong punto ko? Gusto ng Diyos na maging klase tayo ng citizens sa mundong ito na kapansin-pansin. Stood out. I want to stand out from the crowd. Ayun. Kailangan maging iba tayo. Kailangan makita sa atin ang katangian ng asin at liwanag. Kabilang dito ang submission na malinaw na inuutos sa scripture. Sige, let me share my insights. Siguro nakuha ko doon in order to silence the enemies or alam mo yun, yung critics na hahanapan ka ng mali sa bawat ano.
Hanapan ka ng butas.
Hahanapan ka ng butas, ganyan-ganyan. It's to live a godly life. Ganyan. And yun nga, yung mga submission sa law, sometimes, diba, yung simpleng pagtawid sa pedestrian lane, hindi mo masunod, pagsunod sa traffic light, Christian ka nga, ba't di ka sumusunod? Pagsunod sa mga tamang daan.
Pero ano kasi yan? It's mala prohibitum.
But still, a law. It may be prohibited. It's not inherently wrong, but it's prohibited. So just follow. Unless or until it has not been changed, you just have to follow. And then yung nga sinasuggest na dito, if there are ways that you can suggest, baka mag-lobby ka sa kongreso, di ba? Na ito po yung batas na gusto kong ipatupad. Then while it's not being changed yet, then you just have to follow. Then may exception. The only thing that you will not follow the law if it's asking you to violate the law of God, 'di ba? Yung parang at work, parang ano, eh, sa interview 'to, sabi niya, 'pag may inutos ba sa'yo yung boss mo, susundin mo ba? Ayun, disagree ka sa values mo.
Hmm.
Siyempre hindi. Pero yung iba takot, so
Sasabihin
susundin na
nila.
lang nila. Ayun, eh, kung may paninindigan ka, pero minsan kasi nakasalalay yung buhay mo dun,
Hmm.
nakasalalay yung trabaho mo, papakain mo sa pamilya mo, 'pag di mo sinunod, wala ka ng trabaho. Kaya siguro nagiging ano na lang yung system 'no, so mahirap, ayun, sumunod. But I think hindi ka na mapapabayaan ni Lord kung susundin mo yung will niya. Ayun yung insight ko, submission has ano naman, has blessings. And yun nga, in order for you to stand out from the crowd or as a Christian, na iba ka kasi you don't conform with the world and silence their foolishness or di ba, critics nila, parang live a godly life. Ayun, ikaw ba? Anong insights mo dun?
Ayun. The same actually. Even Jesus, 'di ba? He lived within the confines of the Old Testament during that time, 'di ba? So sumusunod siya. Although may mga kino-question din siya na mga kumbaga practices. It's more of the practices, yung application nila ng law na mali. So dun pumasok yung pag-question niya. But in terms of following kung ano yung essence ng Old Testament, sinunod niya talaga before kumbaga, he ushered in the New Testament. So ganun doon tayo na parang, yes, we wanna make changes in the society. Yes, we want them to realize the salvation. But we have to be able to do it within the the bounds of the law. Na sabi nga kanina, diba, we don't have to be revolutionaries. We don't have to be rebels to do something so radical. We can do it in our own ways. And the way it's done is yun nga, submit to the authorities. Meron at meron tayong makitang mali, and there are ways, remedies naman for us to, kumbaga, air those grievances, 'di ba? Not yung blatant violation na parang, "Ay, ayoko nito. Hindi ko na lang susundin." Parang gano'n. You still follow, but lobby nga, sabi mo nga kanina, you lobby. If you want this particular regulation or rule or law change, then you lobby. Kaya nga tayo may mga representatives, congressmen, congresswomen, senators, 'di ba? For laws to be changed, repealed, enacted, ganun.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's true. Sige, maging congressman tayo. Let's
Ayaw mo na
enact
ano,
laws.
let's become a congresswoman, congress.
Para maipatupad natin ang mga batas na kailangang ano,
Mm.
righteous and godly. And of course, for the welfare of the people. So,
Ah,
ayun. Thank you so much for listening. But yun nga, habang wala tayo doon, let's start by living a godly life by submitting to the will of the Lord. So, ayun.
you
Thank you
want
so much,
ano,
Francis.
you want
Mhm.
supplement?
Ah! Yeah. Do you have some supplements in ano, from you version?
Let's read day 5 devotional natin dito. So sakto-sakto na naman siya. So discerning God's will through the counsel of God's people. Parang authority. I am thinking authority. So God's will is confirmed by counsel from God's people. When making decisions, it is wise to ask for counsel or advice or help, diba? The Bible warns that only a fool thinks he is wise on his own eyes, while the one who listens to advice gains wisdom. So the reason why most don't ask for counsel is that we have already made up our minds. So they have a tendency to avoid counsel because you know what people are going to tell, but you want to do something contrary anyway. So ito yung parang humihingi ng advice, pero hindi naman talaga susundin, 'di ba? So sometimes I'm guilty of that. So these are red flags which need to be addressed. So how do we know that God is leading us? How do we know that God is speaking to us through His Word or in prayer? It is confirmed by the counsel from God's people. So who should you ask for counsel? So sino-sino yung mga hihinga natin ng tulong, kumbaga. Among those who fear and love God, here are some practical considerations. So may mga binigay siyang tips. Number one, seek counsel from those who you want to imitate in life. If you want counsel about marriage or relationship, ask someone whose marriage you respect and would like to imitate in the future. So if you want counsel about work, ask someone who works in a way that gives good honor, that gives God honor and glory, in a way that they treat people with respect and are generous with their resources. So parang in a way, diba? Mentoring then. Seek someone who's already been there, who's done excellently in that particular field. And then B, seek counsel from people in a different season of life. If you are a student seeking counsel, ask someone who is working. If you are newly married and want counsel about marriage, ask someone who has been married for a few years. So to gain siguro a better perspective, a broader perspective on things, 'di ba? A fresh set of eyes. Kasi minsan when we are all in the same situation, di na natin nakikita yung perspective outside. So it's better to have a fresh set of eyes or brains for that matter. Letter C, seek counsel from people who have nothing to lose. So sometimes when people have something to lose, or they're afraid of your reaction, or they're scared that they will lose your friendship, such people will not give you an honest assessment. So seek people who can speak the truth in love. So humingi daw ng tulong dun sa mga hindi mag-hold back sa iyo. Ayan. Letter D, seek counsel from those who know you well and from those who may not know you well. So sometimes yung mga hindi natin kakilala nga, kasi nga hindi nila tayo kilala, they have a tendency to really provide more honest feedback. Ganyan. So it's better. And letter E, seek counsel from more than one person. So the more the merrier, diba? So Proverbs 12. So the way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice. Proverbs 19. Listen to advice and accept discipline, and at the end you will be counted among the wise. So ito, story. So 1 Kings 11. Now Jeroboam was a man of standing, and when Solomon saw how well the young man did his work, he put him in charge of the whole labor force of the tribes of Joseph. So si Jeroboam daw did his work excellently. So naging siyang supervisor. And then about that time, Jeroboam was going out of Jerusalem, and Ahijah, the prophet of Shiloh, met him on the way wearing a new cloak. The two of them were alone out in the country, and Ahijah took hold of the new cloak he was wearing and tore it into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take 10 for yourself, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. See, I am going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hands and give you 10 tribes. But for the sake of my servant David and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have one tribe. I will do this because they have forsaken me and worship Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, Chemos, the god of the Moabites, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites, and have not walked in obedience to me, nor done what is right in my eyes, nor kept my decrees and laws as David, Solomon's father, did. So we should always keep God's decrees and laws. But I will not take the whole kingdom out of Solomon's hand. I have made him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of David, my servant, whom I chose and who obeyed my commands and decrees. I will take the kingdom from his son's hand and give you 10 tribes. I will give one tribe to his son, so that David, my servant, may always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem, the city where I choose to put my name. However, as for you, I will take you and I will rule over all your heart's desires You will be king over Israel. If you do whatever I command you and walk in obedience to me and do what is right in my eyes by obeying my decrees and commands as David, my servant, did. I will be with you. I will build you a dynasty as enduring as the one I built for David, and I will give Israel to you. So I will humble David's descendants because of this, but not forever. Solomon tried to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam fled to Egypt to Shishak, the king, and stayed there until Solomon's death. As for the other events of Solomon's reigns, all he did and the wisdom he displayed, are they not written in the book of the annals of Solomon? Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel 40 years, and he rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son succeeded him as king. Ayan.
Meron pa?
Meron pa. Ayun. So, Rehoboam went to Shechem for all Israel and gone there to make him king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard this, he was still in Egypt where he had fled from King Solomon. He returned from Egypt. So they sent for Jeroboam and the whole assembly of gumagalaw mag-isa yung ano. Solomon. Wait lang po. So they sent for Jeroboam, and the whole assembly of Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you. So parang ano rin to. Parang they were not in favor of what they were doing. Di ba? Parang they wanted to violate the law. Pero kinausap nila si Rehoboam instead na, uy, medyo heavy yung burden namin, yung work namin. Rehoboam answered, go away for 3 days and then come back to me. So the people went away. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders. Ito na yan. Who had served his father Solomon during his lifetime. So, king na siya, di ba? Sa Solomon's son. So, Solomon is very full of wisdom. Pero, King Rehoboam still consulted the elders. So, how would you advise me to answer these people? He said. They replied, if today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servant. So, sabi naman ng mga elders sa kanila, well, be a servant to your people. Tapos sabi, but Rehoboam rejected the advice the elders gave him and consulted a young man who had grown up with him and were serving him. So sa tropa-tropa siya humingi ng advice. He asked them, what's your advice? How should we answer these people who say to me, lighten the yoke your father put on us? The young man who had grown up with him replied, these people have said to you, your father put a heavy yoke on us, but my father's waist. My father laid you on a heavy yoke. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. So 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to Rehoboam as the king said, come back to me in 3 days. The king answered the people harshly. So yung sinunod niya, yung advice nung pangalawa. Rejecting the advice given him by the elders, he followed the advice of the young men and said, my father made your yoke heavy. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. So, tama naman na we should ask advice, but we should ask advice and from the right people. And we should be able to discern kung tama o mali ba then yung advice. Diba? So, what did we learn? What did you learn from this?
Asking counsel from godly people will help discerning God's will as well. Yes, we're gonna read His word. Diba yung previous chapter,
Ah.
prior that is reading His word, diba? So this one naman is yung ability of other people to counsel us. That's why, yun nga, nung time na we are entering a different stage, we ask Pastor Ronnie to really counsel or at least, diba, ask advisor so that they could guide us. Accountability, Pastor. So yun naman yung naiisip ko doon, that other people, if you want to look forward in a different stage of life, parang we should ask those people who have been there already. So we could ask our pastors. Ayun. Ikaw ba?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So yun nga, parang ask advice from different types of people in different seasons.
Mm.
Kumbaga, halimbawa, you can even ask advice from someone who's struggling in that particular aspect. 'Di ba? Kasi makikita mo a different perspective on things. So not just the ones who had been successful in a particular area of life, but also someone who's struggling or still undergoing, kumbaga, that particular phase, ganyan. Because you can
Mm.
always get, kumbaga, we can always get insight, get learning kung ano man yung message na pinaparating sa atin ni God. Ayan, so thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Francis, for having this devotion together with me. So tomorrow na ulit sa chapter 6 naman tayo.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for watching us. I hope you also learned something on how to know God's will in your life and how you could really live a godly life.